Today on the podcast, we've got something completely new for you. Today, I'm joined by Danny, an estate agent working in North London. We're getting underneath the bonnet of his business and looking at what's working, what's not, and generating some quick wins to help him get in front of more sellers in the local area. We cover everything from how he's using his database to how he can drive more instructions off the back of his current listings and a few tweaks to boost his market appraisal numbers. If you're an agent looking for practical ideas to sharpen up your own business and marketing, this one is packed full of takeaways. Hope you enjoy it. Danny, thank you for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day. So talk us through, people who don't know you, give us a bit of background on yourself. So how long have you been an estate agent for? How long have you been self-employed for? What's the background there?
So I have been an estate agent for 4.5, coming up to 4.5 years now. Started with Keller Williams back then. First year was a bit subdued for me. I had a few personal problems. Dad passed away and all this kind of stuff. So first year I had a few sales and a few lettings. Very new to estate agency then. Second year, third year got into good production and just really, it's going well. Prior to that, I was doing investment development work for property people and just finding them opportunities. And prior to that, I was in banking after I read mathematics at university. So it was I was in banking for a number of years, came out of that and went into property, which I really like.
Fab, you're a smart guy. So obviously we're going to get onto your figures later on. So being from the banking world, I'm sure you've got these on dial. So we'll look forward to that bit. So what's the goal of your business? Is it a lifestyle business for yourself? Is it sort of a let's make as much money as possible? What's the sort of vision behind it?
So basically, I mean, I see my work now as kind of like enjoyment as well. So I really enjoy what I do day to day. I'm meeting different people, I'm meeting different clients, seeing different properties every single day. So it's quite enjoyable. But eventually I want to kind of move maybe a bit more into the luxury end of the market as well. I enjoy what I do day to day, and it's great. But just maybe moving into the luxury end and focusing more on investment development work. So that would be great for me as well. I still do that as part of the business as well. So finding opportunities for clients as well. So it's good.
Good, exciting stuff. I like the sound of that. Right. Well, let's jump in the deep end, shall we? Let's jump into some numbers from yourself. So, let's start at the very top. So let's look at sort of an average month for Danny at the moment. So how many market appraisals is sort of an average month for yourself, do you think, at the moment?
Kind of averaging appraisal wise, probably about 2 to 3 a week. So maybe five to eight on average a month, I'll say. So something in that kind of region.
Cool. Okay, fine. And how many of those market appraisals are you getting instructed on? So what's your sort of instruction rate every month?
Probably about four to five.
Okay. That's not bad in the grand scheme of things from that many market appraisals. We're sounding good so far. And how many of those are you selling? So obviously I know you do sales and rentals alongside each other. How many of those do you sell?
Probably about 1 to 2 a month, maybe 1 to 2 a month.
1 to 2 under offer per month. Okay, fine, good. And so your current stock with your business at the moment. So we took a snapshot of your business today. How many properties have you got sort of for sale versus under offer?
As of yesterday, as of this weekend, I've got 3 under offer, and I've got six in total. So 3 and 3, yeah.
Oh, 3 and 3. Okay, that's a nice 50-50 split. Okay, good. And talk us through sort of your fee side of things. Are you finding that it's increasing? Is it decreasing? Where's it kind of sitting at the moment?
I find that sometimes with like some of my kind of landlord clients, they try and drive a bit more of a hard bargain, and then I kind of like one of them I've rented one of his properties, and then the one I agreed at the weekend I sold for him. So I just kind of did him a bit of a discounted deal, if you like. But I think he appreciates the difference because he knows, like, using different agents. I'm not saying the high street's bad or anything, but using the high street model, the service levels he gets from me compared to the high street is very different. So he's kind of acknowledges that. He's seen my marketing compared to theirs, and he's noticed substantial differences in how they performed compared to
Sure.
someone like myself.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So is it generally fee wise, apart from the odd sort of deal, let's call it, are your fees generally on the sales and rental side? Are they on the upward trajectory? Are they coming downwards? Where do you kind of feel they sit at the moment?
Yeah, I think they're on the upward trajectory,
Good.
and yeah, they're kind of moving towards good level of fee, that would
Cool.
work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the marketing in your business then. So you mentioned marketing then. So you've segued me beautifully. So thank you very much. So what goes out in the local area? So obviously I know Whetstone is sort of your main patch you cover. If I live in Whetstone, what do I see of you? What goes out? What am I engaging with?
Yeah, so that is a target area for me more and more, and I have been leaflet dropping. Recently, I have been going door knocking on properties on the market. I've actually got a potential listing coming up, which was been on with another agent, so that's working for me. But it's just leaflet dropping and awareness, and I'm active on some of the social media channels on Facebook and things like that as well. So.
Cool. Okay. So you've got leaflets going out in the core area. Just put some numbers behind these. So I've got an idea kind of what sort of quantity I appreciate for things like leaflets. You may not know exactly. Are we talking 10 leaflets, 10,000 leaflets? What sort of give me a number?
So leaflets are probably in the region of maybe not 10,000. No, it's about a couple of hundred leaflets every month. So
Okay.
I'm starting small.
Mhm.
So I'm just targeting kind of like 5 to 6 streets.
Okay.
So and then I just want to then expand from there. So the plan is to do 5 to 6 streets consistently every month, and then expand from there, and then just build from there.
Cool. Okay. And what's the message around that? Is it saying you've sold a property, listed a property, or is it just like a generic, do you want to
It's
market
just
appraisal?
just a generic property, and if there's property on the market, I'm writing things like I can help you sell your property. Why is it not sold? Those kind of things, those kind of questions.
Okay, and you mentioned every estate agent's favorite, door knocking on the market properties. Give me some numbers behind that. How many knocks or conversations, however you want to kind of phase it? What have you got there?
So over the last 6 weeks, door knocked about 40 doors, and we've had two potential leads from there.
Okay, fine. And talk me through the social media side of things. So I had a bit of a stalk of your social media before we caught up today. So talk me through the social media side of things. Love it, hate it, post all the time. What's your sort of vibe on?
So again, that's we've got kind of a listen to various other podcasts and things, including yourselves. But yeah, it's something we've got a challenge going on, a video challenge with some of the other agents, and we're trying to do regular videos.
Yep.
So that's one good thing we're doing. Social media, I've got things going out on a regular basis. To Instagram, Facebook, and just active on the Facebook groups, which are local to me as well.
Okay, great. And what's your number one lead source at the moment? So you've listed sort of leaflets, the door knocking, the social media side of things, and sort of the Facebook group side of things as well. What's your number one lead source for your business at the moment?
Number one lead source is probably, I'm going to say, networking, because that's been quite powerful for me. But I do network a lot, and it kind of does work. So yeah, it does help.
Okay. And what's the number one focus in your business at the moment? So obviously we're kind of three under offer, three for sale at the moment, sort of thing. We're getting 5, 6, 7, 8 market appraisals per month and sort of completing on one-ish property per month, roughly speaking. What's the sort of goal if we could fast forward 6 months down the line? Where do you want the business to get to in that sort of timescale?
Four completions a month at
Okay.
least. 4 completions a month, and I'm doing my rentals as well. So in the last week, I've had 2 move-ins on Saturday, and then I've got another one on
Cool.
Thursday as well. So rentals are quite active for me as well. So
Good.
yeah, it's
Excellent.
quite busy.
And you sort of slightly threw yourself under the bus there, so I'm just going to jump on that. That's okay. So you mentioned the area side of things. You're bringing it sort of more into the Whetstone area. So how big a territory do you cover at the moment as a business?
So typically, I mean, I get because of my networking as well. I get people, although they do try to give me referrals, leads into my own area, but I'll get referrals into like East London, which I've sold a property there, and that's in legals now. I get property in Bounds Green, which is like 2 miles down the road.
Mhm.
I'll get various leads. West London, like this week on Thursday, I'm going into central London. It's a very big ticket item, so it's a massive. It's right on the river, so it's something I'm going to see. But I get all leads everywhere, Chris. So it's something I
Cool.
need to really.
Okay, the very first world estate agency problems. I like the sound of that. Okay, so talk me through. So if I booked a market appraisal with you today and I phoned up and said, "Hi, Danny, I've seen you, I don't know, social media or leaflet, or you knocked on my front door last week, wherever it may be." Quite a high level process. What's the sort of process at the moment? So you hang up the phone after having a chat with me. Do you then just sort of turn up my front door? What's the sort of next stage in that
So
process?
yeah, so I'll at the end of the phone call, I'll aim to try and give you some time options to say, what's convenient for me to pop around, give you some advice on the property, have a look at the property, discuss your motivation, discuss, how we can help you and get the property best marketed for you and achieve the ultimate best price in the current market,
Okay.
and just go through our strategies to get the property sold.
And do you drop anything before the market appraisal, or do you just kind of turn up at Saturday at 3 o'clock and hi, I'm
Yeah,
Dan?
so we'll go through the process of that. We'll get them booked in. They'll get an email from us. They'll get a WhatsApp and a text message from us. We'll give them some broad data on what properties are kind of broadly sitting at in the current market,
Cool.
and
Okay.
just give them some indications. Yeah.
And what about after the market appraisal? So obviously, I'm sure you close for the business on the market appraisal, but should they say, let's catch up in the future, Danny, or I'm off on holiday for 2 weeks, sort of thing? What's the sort of follow-up process after that like for your clients?
So it's an area I do try and keep in touch with most people, but it is an area I need to focus on and get better at. My follow-ups are not the strongest suit, so I need to get my tech corrected and get my kind of whole process in following up with people
I'm just gonna
really ironed out to a T. So yeah.
I'm just gonna scratch on that slightly more if that's okay. So if I had a market appraisal through you and you gave me a price and fee and those bits and pieces, we kind of shook hands on the doorstep and I'll speak to you soon, Danny. Are we talking kind of one email off the back of it with a kind of a letter off the back of it? Do you hand deliver something? Do you phone me in a week's time? What does that look like on sort of the average
So
person?
basically, yeah, it's exactly that. You'll get an email from me, and then a phone call from me, and then if you should be technically going into our CRM and just
Yep.
basically seeing how we can help you. And then if I find that you're on with another agent or you've instructed another agent, I'll put you on a different campaign through the
Cool.
CRM.
Uh, And how many people are on your database at the moment? So if I looked at sort of your valuations you've been to over the last sort of 4.5 years or so, how many sort of hundreds or tens or thousands of people have you got on your database at the moment?
I think it's about just under 5,000 now.
Wow. Okay. Cool. That's a serious database. Okay. Cool. Fine. Well, first of all, thank you for all the information there. You've given me a lot to work with straight away. So straight away, looking at this, I'd say we've got some good news, we've got some bad news. The good news is you're a really good estate agent. So the good news is, if I look at your conversions for what you have with regard to your market appraisal rates, through to instruction, to the sales side of things, really solid. So, for me, it's about looking at your business and going kind of what's the low hanging fruit that we can kind of improve quickly to make a real change in your business today. And yes, there's tweaks and kind of improvements to be made across the board on sort of the, market appraisal instruction and instruction to sale, but it's not that bad. If you came forward and said, Chris, I'm valuing 8 properties per month and I'm getting two on the market, then yes, that would be sort of very much low hanging fruit to jump into. But the fact you're getting probably a 50, 60% sign up rate is a really, really good sign. And you're selling a couple, so you're selling sort of half your stock at the moment, which is in the right sort of ballpark. So we're not a million miles off on that side of things. The bit that I'm Concern's the wrong word, but the bit I would really heavily look at is you mentioned earlier you want to get 4 completions per month going forward. And if I just work that backwards, kind of give us an idea where that lies in the sand. So if you want to get 4 completions per month, let's say you need to sell five. That gives us a 1 in 5 fall through rate. So we need to sell 5 properties, which probably means we need to list 10 properties per month, which means you probably need 20 market appraisals per month. So pretty much we need to sort of 3 times the amount of market appraisals you're getting in your business at the moment. So you mentioned that your number one lead source was networking. What percentage of all your instructions do you think come via networking?
Yeah, probably about 40%.
Okay, fine. Okay, that's not too bad. So what I would always look at this is kind of the rule of thirds. So a third of your instruction should come from sort of recommendation and reviews and sort of networking side of things. A third should come from complete strangers into business whatsoever. So people you've never heard of, and they just your phone rings one day and it's Mrs. Taylor. And another third of it should come from viewings being worked backwards. So the fact you're getting 40% from your recommendation side of things is good because that shows kind of people are referring you and they trust you and they like you sort of thing. But it shows we've got a slight flat tire with regard to sort of the cold marketing side of things. So if we're looking to get 20 market appraisals per month, you've kind of alluded to some stuff that's working for you already. So you mentioned earlier, so you knocked on 40 doors or 46 doors, I think it was,
Yeah.
depending on how bad my handwriting is. And you got a couple of market appraisals slash good conversations off the back of it. So that was 40 doors over a 6 week sort of time frame. So that's probably what, 8 a week, roughly speaking, in that sort of ballpark that you're knocking on their front door, and you're getting a good return rate on that. You also mentioned your social media side of things, and if I jump onto your social media now, for example, and look at some of the posts you put on there, so people who are listening in obviously can't see your social media, but there's a clear divide, Danny, between your Canva stuff, which is kind of very generic sort of stuff that comes through and these sort of things, and there's stuff that has you in it. So, hazard a guess, one of these posts has 6 likes, and one of the posts has 55 likes and 8 comments. So that shows the difference between the content that you're putting out there that people are
Yeah.
interacting with, how much they like it compared to stuff that is just on Canva, where they're looking at it going, oh, it's just a Canva template. So the world is telling you kind of what they want from you on that side of things. So the bad news of sort of the good news, bad news cocktail is that your marketing numbers need to increase pretty heavily for you to get to where you want to get to in the business. Because if you're looking at, even, for example, looking at, let's take door knocking, for example, generally speaking, you look about 1 in 10 doors you knock on to have a good conversation with. So you're better than that already. So you're doing a good conversion across the board. So actually, for us to get up these 20 market appraisals into the business, if we just did it on door knocking, I know we're not obviously not doing that, but if we did it just on door knocking, for example, if you said, right, Danny, you need to knock on 200 doors in a month, that would get you to that target. I appreciate that's a very boring job. So obviously we're going to diversify that with some social media and whatever else it may be. But if you're looking at the amount of marketing you need to do to actually get your phone ringing to get where you want to be in the business, that needs to increase. So talk me through your diary at the moment. So where do you spend most of your time in the business? We kind of took a snapshot of sort of what you're doing day in, day out. What are you spending your time focusing on?
So I'll do like the networking, which like yesterday I was at networking and I connected with a few people and some leads and what have you. So I'll do follow ups with them. I try and do phone calls to people I'm connected with, people I'm old market appraisals, just check if their properties have sold, have they not sold.
Okay.
And then I'm just kind of like, then I'm just progressing sales or seeing what's going on or
Okay.
rentals and following up rentals.
Okay. The stuff effectively.
Hmm.
Okay. And bearing in mind what we've talked about already with regard to kind of how we're going to grow our business from sort of where we are today with sort of 1 or 2 completions per month sort of thing to kind of through to kind of 4 completions, where do you think your biggest focus of time should be spent in your business today?
Definitely connecting with people in my phone book and just reaching out to them,
Yep.
following up with like networking people that I need to connect with more so.
Yep.
and just being. I think I need to be more systematized and more, I don't
Okay.
know, or
So,
procedural, just
well,
habitualized on doing things.
Well, I would say the biggest low hanging fruit. So one part of this is just a very blanket message here of increasing your marketing output. So you're doing nowhere near enough to kind of get to where you want to be. So things like the door knocking numbers are bearable, but things like 200 leaflets, you're never getting a phone call off that amount of stuff. That's gonna be brand awareness sort of thing. You're never really going to get a return on investment on that. It's more going to be people actually know who you are. Um, I agree that with regard to the amount of marketing you're doing, you've got sort of three options. Either you shrink your area down dramatically and you go, actually, even Whetstone's a too big area. You might go, right, these couple of streets in Whetstone is where I'm going to focus my time. And I can then get this sort of smaller level of marketing out and it kind of makes a bigger impact because they're kind of getting it more regular for myself. That's kind of option number one. Option number two is you increase the amount of marketing you're doing. So you just kind of just do more effectively. Probably the golden sort of third option here is actually we reduce down the area you're covering and also increase the marketing as well. So, for example, I mean, I'm not an expert in Whetstone like you are, but I would look at it and go, right, this certain suburb or this certain part of Whetstone, for example, I literally want them to be sick of the sight of me. And if I knocked on anyone's front door and said, who am I? They should be like, you're Danny, you're that guy, keep sending me leaflets and letters. And that's exactly kind of where we want to get to with it. So we kind of need to go sort of ideally hyper local, but also crank up the marketing in that area as well. I think that's going to generate more of a result for yourself. So that's kind of one side of it. The other enormous win you have sat in front of your nose at the moment, you've got a database of 5,000 people. Massive. That's like twice the size of my database. And I think I've got a fairly decent sized database. If I'm on your database, what do I get from yourself at the moment? What do I see of Danny?
You'll be receiving kind of like what's going on in the property market and what's going on in like things like interest rates and generic information about the economy and things like that on a monthly basis. And then maybe another time a month you'll receive like a current kind of like property stock and things like that.
Okay. So what's your sort of call to action there? So you've got sort of property stats and what's going on in the market and what's going on in the economy and base rates and whatever it may be. What's the sort of what's going to get people? That's nice information to have, and I think it's good for people to kind of see that stuff and see you as sort of the digital mayor of kind of information on that side. But obviously, what we want them to do is to say, actually, Danny, come around and see us, sort of thing. So what's the sort of call to action slash sort of next step for them in that situation?
Yes, at the bottom there's a little button to say, look, if you need any help with property or anything like that, then do contact me.
Okay.
But I think you've raised a valid point there. It's probably something that needs to be improved.
Okay, so what I would look to do there is I'd look to lower that bar as low as possible. So what you've effectively got in your email campaign, to be very to the point about it, is a big email that goes out full of information. That's absolutely great. But the button at the bottom might as well say, I'm Danny, a complete stranger who emails you twice a month. Can I come around and see where you sleep at night? That's effectively what you're kind of saying by saying, do you want me to come and value your property sort of thing with that call to action? What you want to have is a far lower bar of entry into your business. So, for example, you might give away some stats about the local economy, for example, and say, house prices are up or down or sideways at the moment. And then you might have a full report that you can actually get from your email, which you can then download from there. So if you're emailing 5,000 people, I'll be willing to bet that probably 5% of those are going to actually download the report, which is off my math, top of my head, my maths, what's that, 250 people? That's a fairly decent amount of people that are going to download your report. That's basically all those people who have clicked that button, who then downloaded that, have all going to give you a little wave to say, hi, Danny, thinking about selling. Because they've interacted with the report. And the more sort of specific you make that report, whatever the email campaign, let's say, for example, you send an email saying, here's Danny's top 10 tips about how to sell your property. If you want to download the full guide about how to sell your property correctly, click this button sort of thing. That anybody that interacts with that button and interacts with that sort of post is pretty keen to sell their property. How often do you email this stuff out?
Once a month.
Okay. I would be really tempted to gear that up. And I'd be really tempted to do that every 2 weeks. Because the biggest problem that any estate agency has is to people actually know and understand who they are. And an email every month. If I said to you, Danny, what did you have for dinner a month ago? You're probably like, couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you what I had dinner yesterday. Whereas we're saying to people, look, can you remember me from last month? Do you remember my newsletter from last month? And no one's going to remember it in reality. So I would look to ramp that up to every 2 weeks. And once you start getting the correct messaging in it and the correct kind of call to action on it, I'm going to place a little bet here that you'll start doing that every week. Now, goes without saying here, but things like ChatGPT are probably going to be your best friend, not necessarily to do it for you, but to give you an idea about sort of the context and the overview of the text sort of thing and the call to actions and the buttons and the subject lines to get to as many people to engage with it as possible so that you can start getting a return on that. And the great news is free of charge. It'll probably
Mm.
take you an hour a week to do an email, half an hour a week, once you've got the template all sorted sort of thing. That'll go out to 5,000 people and they'll fall into two camps very quickly. Well, those three camps technically. One camp will be that, oh my God, had enough of Danny, unsubscribe. And that's fine. They weren't going to sell you anyway. That's absolutely fine. The big group of people are probably not going to engage with you, but you can get a percentage of the people that are going to be super fans of Danny and suddenly think you're absolutely brilliant and actually call you out to value their property. But you need to offer them enough value on that sort of things as well. So really when it comes to your business, with regard to kind of free marketing you've got in front of you, that is really, really, really low hanging fruit for yourself. But you need to offer some value with regard to people clicking on a button that isn't doing a market appraisal. You know, we send out an email every week, and the only thing I'll look at with regard to open rates and all that sort of stuff is just purely how many people click on that button every week and interact with it. As if by magic, you click on that button, you get a phone call about a day later saying, "Hi, yeah, how are things going?" sort of thing, as if by magic. So that's a little way from those people to say, actually, I'm sort of warm to this sort of thing. So do you think you can action that in your business? Do you think?
I think so, yeah.
Cool. Good. Okay. Excellent. So talk about diary structure wise. And you talked about obviously calling old market appraisals and the kind of going through there. What sort of time or how much time do you spend doing lead generation yourself? So how much time do you spend sort of out and about or things that are sort of direct lead gen in your business?
Uh, Out and about is probably about 1 to 2 hours a week.
Okay.
And networking is 5 hours a week. And then on top of that, I do kind of like one-to-ones with people as well. And then I'm visiting other network groups, so 4, 5, maybe eight hours a week for networking.
Wow. That's a lot of networking.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really brutal. I don't know necessarily the correct answer to this. Do you think the amount of return you get on investment in your business is worth 8 hours of networking every week?
I think it is, because I've had if I look at the current properties I've got under offer, two of them are from networking. They're both one's £800,000 and the other's over £900,000. So and I've got good fee, very good fees on the £900,000 one, and not too bad on this £800,000. So it does equate, So I think it does kind of work out. Overall, in a given year, I'm probably getting six to eight referrals from networking. I'd say in that kind of ballpark. So,
and is that 6 to 8 instructions in total?
6 to 8 instructions in total. Yeah.
And what's your average sort of cash fee at the moment?
Well, if I take those two, that's going to be the best part of 10K plus 18K.
Okay, so 28K. Okay, so 28K. Let's see if I can work this out, shall we? So 8 hours per week times by 52 equals 416 hours.
No, that's just the two that are in legal.
Oh, just for the two. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
Well, what would be interesting?
Probably in the region of about, I'd say 40.
Okay.
40, maybe 45K. Yeah.
Okay, so what we can work out is basically your return on investment for your networking. So if we look at it and go, right, £40,000 into your business is a good place to start. And we're doing 8 hours per week times by 52 equals 416 hours per year. So 40 divided by 416. Okay, yeah, £100 an hour for networking. Cool. Keep going with networking. I like it. £100 an hour is a decent rate for that. So that is really good. So definitely keep that in your business. So your flat tire then is your marketing outside of that. Talk me through if you listed a property today. So talk me through your most recent instruction, for example. What are people seeing from you in the local area? What do they see of you around that property? So you list a property in whatever, One New Road in Whetstone. What splash are you making in the local area?
Uh, to be honest, none.
Okay.
So they're just seeing things maybe electronically on Facebook or something, and then my social media,
Okay.
and then things like that. Really, so it's definitely, I guess, a target area I need to work on.
Okay, so I'd always look at marketing in sort of two camps. One camp is sort of you can't avoid it. So things like a for sale board or a sold board, for example, you drive past it, unless you close your eyes while you're driving, which isn't a good idea, you're going to see it sort of thing. Whereas your social media, for example, I actively have to go on your profile, find you, look at your posts and see what's going on. So there's a bit of work involved for myself sort of thing to kind of get to that point. Okay, so we can kill two birds with one stone here, which is really, really good. So what we would do, and if this was a longer podcast, what we would do is basically write out a list of your entire process with regard to you mark your property for sale, when you sell it, and when you complete it as well. And we would then look at every stage of that process. But the biggest thing we'll be looking at is how we can leverage that stock around that property. So thinking out loud here, you've got, for sale in your area leaflets going in that local area, you probably want to get about 250 out of those per property sort of movement. What's your average number of sort of viewings per sort of sale at the moment? How many viewings do you get before you get an offer?
What, 8?
Okay, cool. So we've got plenty of buyers left over, basically. So we've got 7 people in that situation who haven't bought that property. What are we doing with them currently?
They just go into my CRM and receive emails.
Sure. Okay. Right. So I'm just going to run through this on a for sale side of things. So property comes on the market for sale. We are obviously trying to get a board up in the property, outside the property. We're doing a for sale in your area. I would then look at a 3-step process for your social media, of which you would do coming soon by Danny. So, hi, it's Danny. I'm here in New Road and I've got a 4-bed detached coming on the market myself. Perfect for families. If you want this sort of property, give me a call. Great. And then 30 seconds later, literally just run to the property and say, hi, it's Danny. Did a quick video yesterday about a property we just brought on the market. Here's the lovely kitchen. It's going to be perfect for a family. Look at those views over the garden. It's absolutely amazing. Give us a call if you want to view this one before it goes on the portals. So that's kind of
Yeah,
like the best room. And then even while you're there, you can even do another video to say we've just started viewings on it today and everyone's really loved the kitchen and the garden sort of thing. So we're kind of bulk recording our video content for our new instructions to save you zigzagging backwards and forwards to the property. So therefore you get as much as you can do at that time. If you're feeling super confident and you're not going to get your hair cut anytime soon, you can do a video saying, hi, it's Danny, I've just sold this property. Hi, it's Danny. I've just completed on this property. If you're feeling really confident, so you can get 3, 4, 5 videos recorded, all within 2 minutes of each other. You literally just save onto your CRM system or onto your hard drive, for example, that actually sell the property. Great. I've got the video for that one already. Thanks very much. Off it goes, sort of thing. So what we're looking for you to do is to make a bigger splash in the local area. So you've got the board going up, the for sale in your area going out the local area. You've got 3 social media videos going up. Also, once you start doing viewings on the property, someone is going to view that home and say, like the area, Danny, but the house isn't quite right for me. Cool, perfect. Well, if I could show you a property that isn't on the market yet at all, would that be of interest to yourself? And anybody with half a brain cell there is going to say, yes, absolutely, that would be of interest to myself. So therefore, we've then got another 3-step program to go through. And that is going to be a social media post by you. And that's going to be a video saying, it's Danny, just met up with Mrs. Jones. They're desperate for a 3-bedroom house in this area. If you know anyone who's going to sell this property, get them, give me a quick call. Again, more video content by you, which is good for the way to go with it. We've got a VIP letter, which we can send out to that local area, which is basically going to be almost like a written version of the social media post. So it's going to be a letter saying, these are the people I've met. They're the Joneses. They live in rented. They've got a dog called Fido. They've got kids at school. They're looking for this sort of property. That can also go to that local community. That's probably about 250. And then the final part of that, which is going to be the real icing on the cake here, is going to be a specific withdrawn search. So you would look through and for them, find properties that have been off the market, probably the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years or so, and show those details to the people who have viewed that property. And say to them, look, these are properties that used to be on the market over the last couple of years or so. Which ones of these do you think would be of interest to yourself? And they'll come back and
yeah,
go, I like the look of those, Danny. I like the look of the one with the red front door, yellow front door, and the blue front door. Great. Well, I'll drop a letter around those 3 properties. And if they come back to me and say, yeah, great, we're up for it sort of thing, we'll do a one-off viewing on that home. So you basically, if I was unlucky enough to live next door to one of the properties you've just bought on the market, I'm going to see Danny's board. I'm going to get it for sale in your area, come around the local area. I may well stalk you on social media and see some of your videos as well. I'm going to get a VIP letter in my local area as well. And if I used to be on the market, I'm going to get a specific withdrawal letter from myself. So we're kind of pushing more and more towards these touch points. What we're basically going to do is basically do a divide. Either people are going to absolutely love you and be like, oh my God, Danny is everywhere. He's the absolute man. I love him. I'm like a loyal fan of his. I get his emails, all this stuff. Or they're going to go, Danny pesters me too much. And that's fine. If that's the route they want to go down, they're probably not going to work with you anyway. But the biggest issue you've got, we talked about earlier, is getting people to know, like, and trust you already.
Mm.
And then once we get to sold stage, we would basically repeat that whole process all over again. And then we complete the property, we repeat that process all over again. So if you're looking to operate within that really small area we talked about earlier, so those 5, 6 streets, for example, and you've got 2 properties for sale or under offer within that sort of immediate sort of vicinity, they're going to be getting a huge amount of marketing for yourself, because we're just pushing away from a message of, do you want a market appraisal, which is very sort of old hat, moving through to, I've listed a property, I've sold a property, I've completed a property, and I've got buyers looking, and I've got someone who wants to view your house this weekend. That's a really good way. And if you can replicate that again on your social media, that's a really good place to be. But apart from that, Danny, you've got nothing to do. A few bits and pieces. So I'm very aware of time-wise. If I could talk about this stuff all day, as you might imagine. So talk me through the main takeaways from today and the things that we can action in your business as soon as possible to get a win. Because we've covered a lot of things here. Which ones of these you're going to take away and start doing from today? Because I'd love to see you taking these things on board and running with it.
I think definitely the emailing campaigns for the CRM, that needs to be changed and a bit more love given to that, and making more video content when I'm listing a property and all of these things, and when I've sold a property, and just getting my face out there and just being more present in the local area. Certainly, those things are definitely on the agenda.
You've got loads of good things going on in your business, and you've got lots of sort of flashy green lights. It's people saying to you, oh, Danny, we like your video content. Oh, Danny, we like your email sort of thing. You just need to kind of listen to them and go, well, if you like it, I'm going to do some more of it. And that's going to be a really good way for your business. Right. We'll stay in touch, Danny. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been really, really good and really interesting. You've got a really good sort of part of your business ahead of you. I'd love to kind of catch up again in 6 months' time, 9 months' time, a year's time sort of thing, see where it progresses, and then we can get that next chapter from there. We can get some staff on board, and then you'll be truly up and running.
Brilliant. Yeah. Thank you, Chris.
I appreciate you coming on, Danny. We'll catch up soon. Okay, so that's a wrap on today's podcast. And I hope you found it useful. I hope there's lots of practical ideas that you can take away and action in your own estate agency. And if you'd like to be in the hot seat yourself, just like Danny, and have me have a look underneath the hood of your business live on the podcast, it's really super easy. Just DM me the word pod on Instagram, and we'll send you over a short form to fill out. And who knows, you could be joining me on a future episode. I'll see you soon.